Hi, welcome Super Soul Sunday. I am so excited. I have these two wonderful gentlemen joining me, and our theme tonight is manpower. And then when I put the manpower, everyone's like, manpower. Welcome, Nana Checha. And tonight we're going to talk about men, what goes in the heart and the mind of a man. So joining me, I have Reverend Stephen Ofori-Abedi, who is the resident pastor for International Charismatic Church in Newark, New Jersey, in the USA. And I have Prince Baffour, who is an accomplished accountant, 15 years, and he's doing amazingly well. And he is the CEO of Baffour and Associates. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, let me start with Reverend Steve. How are you? It's Sunday, so I guess there was service this morning. How was service today?
Service was good. We had a great time. Currently, we haven't been in person, so we are doing online service. We had a great time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Baffour, definitely you go to church. So did you go online church or your church doors are opened?
Yeah, so we do online service as well. Yeah. So
you do online service.
Yeah.
So when we send you the theme manpower, what did you think of it? Let me start with Reverend Steve.
Well, the first person I thought of was TD, quite honestly, because the first time I heard the term manpower was from TD, so he was the first person I thought of. And secondly, I was thinking about how complicated being a man in the 21st century is. So I think these were the two striking thoughts.
Oh, fantastic. And Baffour, what did you think?
I thought manpower, it's in line with Father's Day. It's about the role of the man at home as well as outside the home. So how, through history, you need men to take the bull by the horn and make things happen. So that was kind of my perspective on it.
Oh wow! So you're in the same line, but then I've done the introduction, but I want you to tell us more about you, both of you. Tell us more. Let's tell the world who you really are, apart from my little introduction. Let me start. Before you can go.
Yeah, so I'm a chartered accountant. I provide finance advice to a range of organizations. So, from the small business person, someone who's doing their own business, to medium size, right, to big global multinationals who've got like billions in turnover. And effectively, what I do is I help them make their dreams come true. So, for example, if you're a one-man business and you need guidance in terms of starting up, how you be able to access capital, how you be able to access finance loans, right from there to helping you prepare your accounts, know how much money you're making, and filing your tax returns with the government. So that's what I've been doing.
Wow, I can hear your playback at the background. So if I don't know if you want to lower your volume a bit so that we can hear the playback. Sometimes when we're doing a live, they tell us turn off your phone or So, Pastor, what about you, my Reverend Stephen Abedi?
Well, I'm Stephen Ofori-Abedi, as I've already been introduced. I am an administrative professional with Robert Half. It's a recruitment and an accounting firm in the heart of Jersey City in New Jersey. Aside that, I also pastor a church. I've currently been pastoring for 11 years, and I'm with International Charismatic Church under the leadership of Bishop Ofori-Abedi. So I served there as the resident pastor. Prior to that, I also lived in the UK. I schooled in the UK, and my concentration was in business management.
Oh, fantastic. So, Very, you also have to check your volume and bring it down a bit. I think we can hear a little playback from your end, and then we will continue our conversation. I am so thankful that you made time. Our two other guests hopefully will join us soon. One is joining us from LA, and the other one is joining us from Ghana. So hopefully they will join. We themed our evening program Manpower because we believe that the man leading is very, very important. And we see that in our community. A lot of men have taken, the back seat, and we women are leading, which is good. I'm not saying it's not good, but then there is a divine order. And me being a woman of God as well, apart from being a TV host, I have realized that society, we have so much chaos going on. And I'm telling myself, where are our men? Where are our fathers? Where are our brothers? And Baffour rightly said, we just celebrated Father's Day. And there are a lot of homes. Stats shows that about over 20 million children don't have fathers at home. So I want us to dive into the man, why our men, some of them have taken the backseat, why fathers are leaving the home, and why our communities have become what it is today. And also, from a pastor's point of view and from a financial person's point of view as well. We have Kweku who's joined from Ghana. So let's welcome Kweku in and then we will continue our conversation. Kweku, welcome.
Hello, Nana. Good evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Say hi to our fellow brothers and sisters in Ghana. Kweku, please introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Nana. And my apologies. I had some difficulty accessing the system. My name is Ernest. I'm Amoabeng Ortsin, and I'm a regional integration analyst. My interests are in regional integration in West Africa, and I'm also involved with a lot of social mobilization programs as an NGO person. I'm also a father. I'm also a father and a husband.
Yes, all the wonderful great men that have our husbands and fathers one way or the other. So we're diving into fatherhood first. So how do you feel? Or do you feel appreciated as fathers and husbands? Let me start with Prince. Do you feel appreciated as a father and a husband?
I'll be honest with you. Me being a father, I don't seek to be appreciated. I know that's my duty. When we were growing up in Ghana, the dad would go out, find in cold food, bring to the house. No one, to a large extent, ask them of, how are you doing or anything. So I'll tell you, my basic mindset is, as a father, you need to provide, you need to protect, you need to help your family so that, one day I'm proud of who my family turned out to be. So that's my mindset, and that's how I go about my business.
Okay, so Reverend, do you feel appreciated as a husband? Okay, it looks like Reverend, can you hear me? Reverend's it's kind of frozen a bit. So Kweku, do you feel appreciated as a father and a husband?
Well, certainly, I feel appreciated as a husband and also as a father. Our cultural norms. At a certain age, if you are not married, it becomes an issue. So once you get married, it comes with its own joys but you also have to understand that it comes with some responsibilities. And as a man, I'm sure that for as long as you live up to those responsibilities, you'll be appreciated and you will have happiness in your life as a father and also as a husband, especially also if you're able to take very good care of your children. Definitely, they will appreciate you as their father.
Okay, thank you. Reverend Steve, I asked you a question if you were appreciated as a husband, but then I think we lost you a bit. So um
Yeah,
can you
okay. On a personal note, I do feel appreciated as a husband. Because my wife really does well in affirming everything that I do. And being a husband is very complicated. It's wearing many hats, just as being a wife is. So I think for partners, affirmation, words of affirmation really go a long way in appreciation. And let me just piggyback on what Baffour said. We don't really are in the business of really looking for affirmation because we know it's our duty to provide and be the husband of the family. But every now and then, when words of affirmation are brought your way, it helps you put your best foot forward and in doing more.
I like what Baffour said. Growing up, it was your responsibility as a father. So you don't have to think that I need to be appreciated. It's your responsibility to take care of the family. I want us to talk about we growing up, seeing our fathers, the way they treated our moms, or how the father figure in the house. How did you see your father when you were growing up, Baffour?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, all I know, and when I cast my mind back, was my dad would go to town, come back home, bring, money in coat, help provide for the family. To a large extent, I didn't even know what he was doing until later on in life. Then I began to understood that. So I've always known, it's a duty if eventually on and as and when I became a father to do similar. I also, a lot of the time, because as I said, we grew up in Ghana. Me being in this country is also as a result of my father, because at some point he traveled and in continuing his duty, he saw the need to bring me and my siblings um, to UK and other places. So it's just continue with the team. That I think his main idea was, let me try and provide for my family, secure their future the best way he thought he could do. And then from there, we too will continue in quote the journey. So that's how I've seen it, and I know there's a lot of other things that probably now we do, like you 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 engage more with your kids compared to when I was growing up, and we are learning. It's interesting, I don't remember, for example, my dad ever giving me a hug, but I knew he loved me, right? So, but obviously I do that more to my kids. It's life, and it changes with time. I think, as I said, the main thing is he has to, from his actions, I knew he loved me and he did enough for me to have a better foundation in life. And for that, I'm appreciative of it.
Well, Baffour said something that he never remembered, or his dad never hugged him, but then from his actions knew that his dad loved him and provided for him. We are in our generation, and Kweku, how did you see your dad when you were growing up?
Okay, thank you very much. Um, this is a very special question for me, and this is special to the extent that by the time I turned between 7 and 8, when I became a boy, I realized that I was staying with my mother and my stepfather. So I was brought up by a stepfather. And the beautiful thing about my stepfather is that if you were not told, there was no way you were ever going to see that I was not his biological child. He was not a rich man. He was an average businessman, but he worked very hard to take care of the family. I remember there were times when he would pay my school fees, even in advance. And I used to feel bad about that. I'll tell you why. I remember there were times when my classmates would be sacked for school fees and they would take the opportunity to go and loiter. And I wish I could do same. But I had the situation where my fees had been paid even in advance. So I had no way of just skipping school to go and loiter. I remember one particular day, my friends were going home, and I also just sneaked out of the class and joined them. So when I got home, we just went to play, and apparently some people in the neighborhood had seen me come home earlier than normal. So I don't know. When my stepfather came, some way somehow he got to know that I was home earlier, and he asked me, Kweku, why did he come home earlier today? And I said, we were sacked for school fees. That was trouble for me. I really got spanked for for skipping school because I wanted to follow my friends, even though my fees had been paid. My stepfather, he was loving and caring, but he was also very strict, very, very, very strict. You have to respect certain rules, and you dare not go against those rules. Um, he sometimes we also buddy buddy. He used to call me by whistling. So he'll be behind the house and he'll
Oh,
whistle. And when he whistles, I know I have to, go out and meet him. Maybe go and set his table for him to eat. And then after eating, I have to whistle again, and then I'll have to go and pack the table. So it was a jolly good time, but it was very strict. So there were times when I was unhappy with his strictness. But growing up, I think I was an average child. I was quite happy. I mean, I was okay.
fantastic. So that's why the two of you have turned out to be great men. What about Reverend? How about you? I know how was your relationship with your dad? Well, it looks like Reverend has frozen again. The power of live shows. But we will move on. So, but for you, Reverend, are you back? Today we're trying to have four more guests, and we are testing our waters. Reverend, I asked what was the relationship between you and your dad?
All right. I happened to live with my dad in a family unit for the first 8 years.
Okay.
So my memory of him is very limited. But all that I could remember was he was present. That was the best way I could describe him. And one of the things that I can still remember to this day was we used to wear identical things. The shirt that he has, he will buy the miniature size for me. I remember those shoes that had the leather tassels in front of them. He has his big one. I have my small one, and that's the memory I have. I can remember every time when we are going out, we will both be decked in our leather tassel shoes. That was me. And yeah,
And
I think that was pretty much it. He was very present. So, but
was very
they were married for the most part of their lives, but they lived in different parts of the world. So, as I said, my memory was my dad in a family unit. That's how I really remember him.
okay. So I'm trying to, because most of us, well, my dad was present, and he was very strict. And I think then him being strict, I did not understand why he was strict. As quick we say, your school fees is paid, why you can't go out, you can't do this. And today I understand why he did that. And most you all have turned out to be the great men you are, because there was that presence there, and there was that check there. But we live in a community now that most of the dads are not there, and it's affecting most of the kids, especially the boys. What do you think that society can do to help bring the fathers, even if they are absent, even if they are divorced? What can society do to help bring the father home, to help their boys, to help their children, or even being present in their kids' life? Kweku, can you help me with that first?
Okay, thank you very much. For me, I approach this question this way. I sometimes get opportunity to engage with young people, and I talk to them about life and how they should plan their lives, how they should prepare for their lives, and so on and so forth. I believe it all starts with what I call family planning. And family planning here, I'm not talking about spacing of children. I'm talking about family planning in the sense of a man deciding for himself what age he thinks is appropriate for him to get married, under what circumstances to be appropriate for him to father a child and be able to take very good care of this child. Because what I've realized is that most fathers, or some fathers these days, are absent because they get themselves into situations where they get into family situations when they are not ready, when they are not fully prepared, psychologically, financially, emotionally, to be able to accept the responsibilities that come with fatherhood. When you have that kind of situation, you are definitely going to run away, because as Reverend said, being a father is very complicated. It is a very complicated process, being a father and a husband. So it requires you to plan. If you don't plan very well, your financial situation, you need to get to a certain level in life where you feel confident enough to bring another person into your life, that is a wife, and then also be able to bring a child. If you miss those steps and you impregnate someone when you are not ready to be a father, you are most likely going to run away. So that is one thing that I think we have to look at critically. Young people will have to be encouraged that before they become parents, they need to plan it. How many kids can you afford? If it's one or two or three or four, you have to know within yourself, and then you plan it. Because if you cannot afford to take care of 4 or 5 children, and you go and give birth to that number of children, you are definitely going to be irresponsible, because you find yourself being unable to take care of them, and some of the children then have to get onto the streets and so on and so forth. So for me,
Okay, let's
it
move
all
on.
begins. It begins with us planning our families. We need to plan.
Fantastic planning. Well, for you are in the financial sector, and you know that planning, and Kweku did mention with finance as well. And we live in the UK where there are systems, where even if the father is not there, you can get, the government can sort you out. Do you think that it is okay for us to go that route and not bring the fathers in?
Yeah, I think one key thing that people have to realize, especially in the UK, is the single parent home, that is not the way. So effectively, it's an abnormally, because people think, oh, it's normal. It's not normal, because basically biology. You can't have a child by yourself, right? You need someone. There's a reason why that is, right? So you have a lot of people who are having kids with people. One, they are not married with. Two, they are not living with. They've not had a proper, you know, partnership, marriage in co. And they think, oh, we can just have a baby and see how it works out. I think people should realize that's not the way to go. You have to start from a proper relationship, marriage. It doesn't have to be wedding. They have traditional marriage, etc., etc. Before you can then plan for a baby. So the fact that a lady thinks, oh, I can raise a child, does not necessarily mean it's right for you to have a child. That's the premise where we need to start. Also, that's where you come to find out the family income. Imagine you as one person, even with the help of the government, paying for everything, rent, bills, etc. Compare it to having a husband who will be there and both of you doing everything together, including raising the kids. I mean, even those of us who have partners, sometimes we're exhausted looking after kids. How much more one person? So, in all, that's where the need comes to be able to be patient and to be able to tolerate. Because sometimes too, people start all good, they living with or they married, but then they think, oh, I'll be better on my own. As much as possible, and for the sake of the kids, it's best to be able to work out the relationship than to go the single route. Because at the end, especially for male, it's very wrong for a female to think I could raise up a son by myself. Because in the same way, I, as a man, I might not be able to raise a woman by myself. That's the same way opposite. Because there are different needs that a boy goes through that is only a man who can understand because the man has been there, right? Not just that. Even if we look through the Bible, see the number of sons, Jacob, Joseph, etc., that their dad guided them. The spirit of the dad is very important because I think a lot of people, and because they forget where we come from, the tradition and everything, they think, oh, it's just about feeding my kid, taking them to school, and they just turn up as men. No, it's much more than that. You need the spirit. There are certain things that a man says to a boy that the boy understands, or even there's a look that a man could give a boy will understand, compared to a woman who has to talk about it all day and the boy won't get it. So these are the stuff that is deep, but it's very necessary that people have to understand that is something that we shouldn't be ignoring. And therefore, obviously, you come to all the wrongs that's happening in society, the knife crime and all those things, because there's no father figure in present in the boy's life and all, and those vices tend to happen. So I think it's a very deep conversation. But I think the key is, as Ernest said, planning and be patient. And never should people think that, oh, the fact that we have a lot of single parenthood means that's normal. That's not. That's abnormal in quote, because it's that's not how it was meant to be. It's just an
That's not
adjustment.
how it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not how it was meant to be. Which I take that question to Reverend. You being a reverend and leading the flock. That is not how it was meant to be, because creation started with God creating the man, the man figure. And for me, I think that the divine head, as the man being the father figure, the man being the head of the home, not necessarily, being working or that, but that man figure. What do you think, as my brother has said, that it is very important that the man takes his position and being there for the kid? How important is that from a reverence point of view?
It's very important, and it's also biblical, as it has been alluded earlier on. With the question that was posed earlier on how can society help men so that they will not abdicate their father responsibilities, I think it all boils down to the issue of identity. The man has to know who he is. If the man doesn't know who he is as a man, when he becomes a husband and he becomes a father, it becomes very complicated. And when we are talking about who is a man, we are talking independent of your career, independent of what you have achieved, because sometimes that is how we define manhood. We define manhood by what we may have achieved, our job. But when we strip it down to the bare minimum, and when you are naked without all this, who is man? Until man is able to answer that question, society's help will not suffice. So I think it boils down to knowing who man is. And who is man? The best way we can find the best model of man is to have a personal relationship with God. Because the first man who was created before society, which represented Eve, came into the picture, man was in the presence of God. So when Eve came into the picture, Eve was able to be a blessing, help and complement man to be able to achieve what he had to achieve before the fall came. So it all boils down to where do I go to get the right information and not go through the distorted images. With the problem we have with maleness and manhood is that we have looked at so many distorted images. The Hollywood star, the athlete, the high earner in the Forbes 100 rich list. And in as much those are good, it's not really the best template. So until we go back to the source of manhood, everything that society will tend to bring, it will not suffice. It won't.
Wow. So we have a lot to learn about. Kweku, you are an integration analyst, regional analyst, and we have everyone going integrating up and down with all these men, macho men, but then we still see that society is not right. From your stats, not just in Ghana, but you do a lot of things with ECOWAS. What do you think the man in Ghana, the men in Africa, how are they taking their families and representing? Because remember we had a conversation and I said that, and you've all said it. What happens at home is what we bring out, isn't it? So how are the men, how are our brothers representing their home to bring it to the community and into the world?
Okay, thank you very much, Nana. I think I'm enjoying the discussion so far. So, just to add to what Reverend said, I would like to mention two publications that I think can be very helpful in this our discussion. One is a book by Gary Chapman, and this book is titled "Things I Wish I Knew Before I Got Married." Things I wish I knew before I got married. And I'm sure if a lot of people take their time to read that particular book, it has an audio version. It's really going to help us to bring back men who are abdicating their responsibilities. Because as we've all said, there are certain shocks you experience when you become a husband and a father. And if you're not prepared for those things, you are most likely going to run away. So I recommend that book. People should really read or listen to the audio tape. Things I wish I knew before I got married. It explains a whole lot of things. And if you are having challenges with your marriage, I'm sure after reading that particular book, you have a lot of understanding, and that can really help you go back to your partner. There's another one by the late Reverend Miles Monroe. This is a video, a preaching, which is also titled "Why Men Need Vision." Why men need vision. It's a very powerful message. about how men should prepare before they bring wives into their lives or children into their lives. So why men need vision. It's also a very powerful message from the late Reverend Masmo. Now, to answer your question directly, I can say a lot is changing in Africa. Um, you know, before we came on air, you put this particular the flyer for this program on Facebook, and I had a lot of reactions from my female friends. A lot of them, I'm sure, misconstrued what this discussion was going to be about. They didn't understand why we had titled the discussion "Manpower,"
Manpower.
and yes, the concern was that manpower is just an attempt to entrench patriarchal beliefs. That makes the man, the macho man, the head of the home, and all those kind of things that normally creates some tensions between men and women. So they had raised a whole lot of concerns. But the point is that I have always said this: men must be allowed to be men, because by being men, we are empowered to protect our women and to protect our children. Now, I must say that in the last couple of years, there have been a lot of advocacy on the part of women, and these advocacy have to be appreciated, because where men were going wrong, women through their advocacy have been able to bring some of these issues online and on stream, so that let's use some metrics or some yardstick to or some benchmarks to see how fatherhood is being appreciated. Just this month, we celebrated Father's Day, and I was very shocked when I woke up with a lot of messages on my phone. A few years back, maybe let me say 2 3 years back, I didn't receive that many messages. But you see that because of the campaign, that awareness, calling on men to be responsible and so on and so forth, we are seeing that kind of appreciation. And for me, that is very positive. There are still a lot of
Fantastic.
missing gaps.
Fantastic. We
That
just Phil just joined us from LA. Hi, Phil.
Hi, hello everyone. Sorry I'm late. I have to take this one on myself. I did the whole time thing wrong, and I thought it was going to be later on in the afternoon, and that's why I'm so glad you popped in and said, "Phil, click on the link." I'm like, "Oh, now." So, hello, gentlemen. How are you? And great to have be on board.
And welcome, Phil. Phil is based in LA. He's a TV host, producer, writer, and he was once upon a time my teacher and my coach as well. And anytime I'm in LA, he supports with my work and always pushing me and say, "Hey, go girl." So I thought he's a great dad, and I thought we would bring him on the panel. And Phil meets Stephen, Prince, and Ernest, and we're having a wonderful chat so far. So since you've joined us, we just want to ask you, as a father and a husband, do you feel appreciated?
Yes, but I got to tell you, I mean, it's one of those things that I think is important for men to understand. Uh, uh, at times, people don't always necessarily show it in a way in which we need it at the time, but that doesn't mean that they're not showing it. And likewise, we're the same way. There's sometimes when the children, the wife, the girlfriend, whoever may need something, and at the time we're just not in tune with what it is at that particular instant. But it's not based on just the superficial things that we do. It's how we respect them, how we talk to them, how we respond to them, how we nurture them, and how we protect them. So I do feel that I'm appreciated by my all of my just everyone, my family, my immediate family, my now new blended family. It's a joy. But it hasn't always been like that.
That's great. So Reverend Asquith, who was saying, from the church point of view, where are the men? Do you think the men are standing up to be that divine, cover for, apart from God, being the divine person in the home? Because most of the time we see especially the women, even though they have the men, or the men are not, they're going with a pastor or a prophet or a bishop, and not giving that due respect to the father of the house.
Oh, there's a very complicated question, because I don't know the percentage of manhood in every congregation, but when we look at it generally, we can say that the number of female worshippers outnumber the male attendants. And why is it so? Well, I believe men see church as a place where there is too much emotionalism. That's one. If you want to be able to relate and communicate to a man, do it intellectually, mind. So I think church too, if we really want to reach out to the men, I think our mode of communication has to really matter. And secondly, many men also don't feel the need, like, what will I learn in church? Because I think the few examples of men who are in church, it's not something to write home about why they will want to be there. So I would say that the men are probably sleeping. So for us to have a revival of men attending the church and coming back to the Lord, the onus falls on the few of us who are part of the congregants and in our various worship centers. We will have to be able to strive to live manhood in a very biblical way and in a Christocentric way, that it is appealing enough to minister to men to come. Because even when you look at men and women, men, generally speaking, are very hard to witness to. They need facts. With women normally go with intuition. They may not have the facts, but they are very intuitive. They are in touch with their intuitive personality, and that alone is enough for them. With men, it's a whole different ball game. They need cold, hard facts. So for the few men that are in churches, I think we have a very big responsibility to live manhood and demonstrate it in a very biblical and in a very Christocentric way to draw other men to come in. So if I look at it across the spectrum, I think we don't have the men in church. But if I'm looking at it relatively in each congregation, how it reflects, that will be quite different.
Wow. There's a saying that men are silent. They hardly talk. Sometimes when a man is going through something, unlike a woman who will talk and talk and talk for, like, Quiz put some plugs in his ears, and Phil as well. But the men are quiet. They would say, oh, it's all right. But deep within, there is something going on. Baffour, how do you think we can help our men to come out and talk more of things that are bothering them?
I think for men, we think we can solve, or we are meant to be bringing solutions other than seeking it from elsewhere. So a lot of the time, men would generally want to find solutions or would want to be in a position where they don't show their weakness. Best way to deal with it is we have to have the forum where men are comfortable to express what they feel, how they feel. A lot of the times, men are more comfortable among men to be able to indicate what we need, or how things are going, what challenges we're going through, and but as we the Reverend said, we need cold hard facts, right? And I agree to that, and to some extent, those stories need to be told. So if there are mental health issues, etc., etc., those need to be told and the facts need to be presented. That's what would make a man convinced that, oh yeah, I might need help, right? Seeing the story of other men, and how to be able to handle those. So yeah, I think, and it takes time. It takes time. I think it's a gradual thing. Things have changed much compared to the generation before me, and I think things are, is better now than before, but obviously there's more to be done, because largely men would keep things to themselves. They want to find a solution. They don't want to be seen as weak or vulnerable, and that's how we've been programmed or engineered to some extent, and we like to toughen it up because
Is
at the end of the
that
day.
how is that how the man is programmed? Phil, what would you say? Would you say the man should be just think of solving stuff and not voicing out what bothers them?
I don't think that he should be that way, but I agree wholeheartedly with the other two gentlemen that that is how we seem to be automatically wired into do. But I think it takes entering out of being a single man mentality into being a married man mentality. And I think that's the big difference. We're when we are born and as we're growing up as young boys into young men, we are for the most part we're single. I was single all the way through high school. I was single all the way through college. Then you enter into this new relationship, this covenant with someone, and the God says two shall become one, and that oneness is where I think that transition doesn't happen. We still think as our own one self. Now, I grew up as an only child, and I got to tell you, as an only child, it was okay for me to sit in my room and play with my toys and do all my stuff by myself. But when company came over, when friends came over, when my cousins came over, I had to get out of that one-minded thinking and begin to open up and expand and share. It took a change in my normal wiring of my DNA in order to now enter into this union with this other person who was over at the time. Well, when you get married, you are now in a union for life. So you have to begin to readjust your way of thinking. And it's even helped me in my business. I've actually told people who have looked for me to hire them at certain times, and they're real go-getters, and they're really like they jump in and they do everything by themselves. But then I look at it as an executive producer. I stop and I go, well, you could have done this more efficiently if you were, ask so and so and so and so to lend you a hand on this particular project, or delegate it to this person to do it, and then we would have got it done quicker. Would have done more efficiently. We would have come in on budget better, but they decided to do it by themselves, and so it took longer because one person was doing it. It cost more because they had to run around or do everything by themselves. And it's kind of like that. I see how it translates into so many different areas of life, but most importantly in the home. We are wired, we are raised a certain way, and then once that transition happens, we must enter into what it is we really have become. Into a spiritual covenant with someone else, and we have become one. So we can't, in my case, be that little kid at home, that only child at home playing all by myself.
Yes, you have to. You talked about
Mm.
delegating and not being that one. So men out there, we want you to speak out. We want you to tell, and I think that some men too, maybe if I'm right from a woman's point of view, that they can I say they're afraid that when they voice out their how they're feeling, a woman might use it against them. Would you agree with me, gentlemen? Would you agree
Okay.
with
Yes. Recently there's a show in Ghana called Date Rush. Date Rush is a very
sorry,
popular
there's what?
show. Date Rush.
Okay.
Yes, it has. So there was this gentleman who appeared on the show and was looking for a partner. And he was asked to describe himself. And amongst the things he said he's a very emotional person, and he easily cries. So even on the show, something happened, and he started tearing. Now, one of the ladies said, "No, no, 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 no. I cannot be with such a man because I'm emotionally, I'm very emotional myself. So I cannot be with a man who is so emotional like me." And on that basis, this woman rejected this particular gentleman. So that tells you about how society has programmed all of us to be. Men are expected to be hard, I mean, the woman cited an example that she can't imagine herself. There's some issue at home, and she is crying, and her husband is also crying. You can imagine who is going to solve the problem. So, we men, we are expected to be strong and be able to resolve those issues. But I think much
Thank
also
you,
depends
thank
on
you.
how we are raised. Yes.
You're not, but for you are not
I
allowed to
think
cry. So you men are not allowed to cry because of time. We're time constraints. So this is an injury. I pray that
yeah.
you guys come back and then we continue. But finance is one of the things that really, really sometimes scares men away. And then but for since you are in the financial world, you help businesses, individuals, and getting their finances in check. You know, what would you tell the man of the family regards to finances, making the budgets? Because it's very important. This is one of the foundations that a lot of marriages break because of our finances or misunderstanding. How would you coach individual? A man came to you and say, hey, I have financial problems. How are you going to help them solve it to get that peace that they need at home?
Well, I think the basics, get the basics right. And the basic I would say is don't spend more than you earn. It's just as simple as that, right? So you have to actually look through your bank statement or through your app, what you're spending on, etc., etc. I mean, as a man, you'd have to be working, right? You ultimately are the provider of the family. Now, it's great if both adults, the man and the woman, work or both of them have a means of income. But ultimately, the man has to be the provider of them. And as I said, don't spend more than you earn so that you be able to keep a tight ship and you can save and ultimately invest. I know, life is a lot of challenges. So there'll be times that maybe the man might lose their job, etc., etc. But the mindset should be, I'll keep going till I get something. You might be doing one job, it might not be enough in terms of the money coming in. But as I said, the mindset should be, I keep looking or keep building my craft, my business until I get to a point where it's enough to provide for the family. Because as everyone knows, if there's financial problems at home, then ultimately the relationship starts to break down and it's very difficult, right? Um, it's also good to be able to, as a couple, have conversations around your finances in terms of, plans based on how much you earn, what we can comfortably, a lifestyle that we can comfortably live, and don't try and live beyond your means. Don't try to be pleasing other people. You know, sometimes you get people who've got too much of a consumer mentality. They want to buy everything. They want to people to see them having all the expensive items, which, you know, to be honest, as part of humans, if you go around like that, it basically means there's something missing in your life and you're trying to use material things to fill. And hence, you'd have to look at your whole relationship with God, your spirituality, etc. Because ultimately, it's not material things that will fill the void. And you'd have to look at all those. But yeah, definitely have conversation, do a good budget, make sure you keep working hard to you get to your financial goals. If you don't have some goals. You know, everyone has got talent in this world. Everyone has got what they can do best. Find what you can do, build on it, and commercialize it. You understand? So not just doing it, but make sure that it's paying the bills. You know, don't just be a happy goer.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
But make sure it's paying the bills. You effectively making money
Thank
at the
you.
end of the day.
Thank you. Reverend, has the church really helped us as the men? Has the church really helped the families? Because finance is one of the things that is not really talked about in the church sometimes, in terms of the financial education. You know, I know we go to church, and I know that some church people are going to inbox me and have a conversation with me, but that is what it is, that there is no education sometimes in, like my brother has said, like on a Sunday we are going to talk about our finances, which is very, very important. Do you think that the church in a way has not helped many families in terms of their finances, and hence divorce and breakdown and no
All
father
right.
home?
I will say the church has helped, but it could do more. It has helped in a sense. Because whenever the gospel is being preached, the end result of the gospel is it builds character, godly character, which in effect affects the nation. It strengthens the moral fiber of the nation. So, in that regard, it has helped a bit. But I think we can do more. I think what the church has to do is we have to focus more on groups, because sometimes men can express themselves best in the company of other men. So I think we have to focus more on the departments like men's fellowship, men's ministry meetings. And those are the places where you have to tackle the daily practical issues of life, goal setting, career moves, how to plan finances. And occasionally at church too, you know, a church is a combination of families. It's families that make the church. So I think every once a while in a Sunday, we should be able to invest in family conventions and of that sort, and maybe tackle them more. So maybe in that area, we will have to do better and shine more light on the family.
We have to do better and shine more light. Phil, as a producer, you know, we their shows, their series, and all that sometimes is not focused on families, on fathers, on men. We have all these shows that we enjoy, but do you think that in the entertainment world is about time that they do a productions that features on some of these things that is affecting our society, like, we having fatherlessness in the homes and stuff like that?
I absolutely do believe that something like that needs to be done. We're in a weird state with our entire world with respect to what people value these days. And I've watched the business take a swing for, reaching for the lowest fruit on the tree. There's a phrase in my business that I've grown to really dislike, and most times it's used, and that phrase is, "Oh, that's good TV." Now, back in the day, good TV meant it was entertaining, it was fun. The entire family sat around and they laughed, and everyone got some enjoyment from this entertainment. But now it seems like different things entertain people these days. I don't know when it began to happen, but even I started out in children's entertainment, and even nowadays, the things that used to just keep everyone uplifted and feeling positive and great about their day and anticipating the next broadcast, even that seems to be a little too corny for them, or a little too jaded for them. I don't know where the state of insensitivity entered into the mindset of the majority of people that view things. But the type of program that tends to get through these days aren't the kind of things that we would like to see or fit that standard that you spoke of. It normally comes under the headline of that's great TV, meaning who cheated on who made somebody cry, who betrayed somebody on this reality show, how many fights broke out in the course of this one episode, and I think that is a reflection of where this nation and this world is with respect to God in their life. There's certain things that we used to fear, and there's certain things we used to hold in high esteem. There used to be, when I was growing up, the pastor of the church was held in high regard and in great esteem. You look at a lot of shows now, and whoever the person is that's represented that has some sort of religious expression is made to be sort of the buffoon of the group. And so with those kinds of representations happening, I find it more and more difficult to get the type of things that you spoke of up and on the air these days. They're few and far between. I'm hoping that there's a shaking that happens on this earth that requires that causes people to begin to appreciate those things that are held in greater regard, that are more uplifting, that are positive, that are esteeming, that are edifying. That's the challenge right now in this business. That good TV is not good TV.
But good TV can come back.
It can come back. So it can come back. A lot of stuff is being done.
Your final words.
Okay.
We've had a Kweku, you wanted to say something?
Yes, my final words.
Your final, yes, yes. Your final words. We've learned something about the man today, and as we said, manpower. People thought we were going to dive into something that the concept was to revive our men again. Those who have sat back and just not doing something with their life. Those who have neglected their children. Those who have, it could be that, as I said earlier on, you're divorced, but you might not be a good husband, or you were not a good husband, but you can be a good father, because we want society to come back to that value, as Phil has said, the good TV, the values, the fathers, helping the mothers, so that the generation that are coming up will be also great, that we can sit back one day in our rocking chairs and say, hey, we raised a good community. And that will come from the church, that will come from those who are in the financial world, that will come from people in the community integrating us, that will come from the entertainment world. So from Pastor, what would you tell the man out there to stand up and be that head that he was created to be?
To be that head you are created to be, you have to unlearn and relearn. Our images and our channels of education by which we have been taught manhood is wrong. So we need to go to the right source. I will advocate Jesus as the best man. And when we learn him, his character, love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, self-control, these 9 things will become the base of our character, out of which we will build our principles.
Thank you. Baffour, what would you say?
Yeah, so what I would say is, just to put it practically, if you have a child as a man that for whatever reason you are not able to see and cater for, now is the time to take the steps to do it. Same to a woman who for whatever reason is not with the father of their child anymore. Try and make arrangements. Forgiveness will be a part of it, through praying and spirituality, so that you will be able to bring families together. Also, ultimately, as I said, if you have two people providing for the family, it's always better than one. So as much as possible, let's keep families together, reunite with families. But and what I said to the man as well, ultimately we the providers, let's hone our crafts, do our best to provide for our families. As you build, by God's grace, you get the fruits of your labor. So it might be difficult today, but keep building. Eventually, you would have a bounty harvest, and then you'll be able to cater for your community and your family.
Fantastic. Thank you. Kweku, what would you say?
Okay, my final words. I know a lot of my friends are watching, and I want to say hi to all of them, and especially my wife. She's watching, and if I don't say hi to her, I'm in trouble. So I want to say hi to baby Anne. I had a lot of challenges connecting earlier on. My laptop wouldn't work, my phone wouldn't work. Surprisingly, it took her phone to work. I don't know why, but that tells you about the kind of support we need from our women. So I want to say hi to baby Anne.
Thank you.
Now,
Wow. Wow.
yes, I didn't get opportunity to comment on the financial issue, so I want to conclude with that. Before I
Okay.
got married, a friend of mine told me that marriage is in the money. Marriage is in the money. How you manage the money determines how far the marriage will go. And he asked me, Ernest, if you have 10 CDs and your wife has 90 CDs, how much money do you have in the home? I said 100. He said, no, you are wrong. If you have 10 CDs and your wife has 90 CDs, you still have only 10 CDs in the home. Because at the end of the day, you, the man, you are still expected to be the one providing. And finally, the man who chaired my wedding, unfortunately, he's late now, but he advised me that, Ernest, once you get married, you are now entitled to only 2% of decisions in the home. All the 98%, leave it for your wife, and there'll be peace in your home. So I encourage all men, let's let our wives be part of the decision making. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Powerful. Wow. And Phil, what do you want to tell our brothers out there, the men out there?
I just kind of want to piggyback on kind of like the first question you asked me, and that is, remember, men, especially with your wives and with your children, if you remember that the wife is your helpmate, and so a lot of the things that we take upon ourselves as men, thinking we have to be strong and carry totally on our own, we're not actually um, making use of the attributes and the skills and the qualities of that person who's been put in our lives to be our help meet. You can help meet certain bills. You can help meet certain things with the kids. You can help meet with your household if you, as I said before, recognize that sometimes it's not about doing it all by yourself. You're in a situation now in which you've now been brought together with one person to become one. So recognize and respect the attributes and the qualities and the skills of that help me, even in your children. Because I realize at times where there are things at times I don't have to ask for. I don't have to think about being done. I turn around, and because they feel respected, because they feel loved, because they feel useful, because as a man, I make them feel useful and engage in the daily activities surrounding our household. Then they're more inclined to just really be that natural help me that it's supposed to be there for you. We don't have to do it alone. We have to make sure we have a plan. We have to make sure that we are men who are the head of our household. But part of that also means making sure we include those that are there with us and for us, so that we can work better together as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I know that our audience have enjoyed too. So I'll be calling upon you again What do you think? Would you come back?
Yeah.
Of
Why not?
course. Of
Yeah.
course.
You're coming back. Fantastic. I am so grateful tapping into your wisdom. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, afternoon, morning, whatever time zone that you are in. I am so thankful. And if you've been watching, thank you for watching the Nana Church Show. This is a different edition of it, having a panel and discussing manpower. So if you thought the manpower was going to be something else, which people are like, quick example, why is it manpower and it's a woman and hosting it? So this is it. We just wanted to revive our brothers and our men to take their positions in the home and in life. Thank you guys, and we'll speak soon. God bless.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.